Ho ho ho, get off my lawn. Welcome to part 2 of the madness of Adult Swim Christmas specials. If you guys haven't seen part 1, then definitely check it out before you watch this video. Here's the basic rundown. There are a lot of Adult Swim Christmas related episodes from their extensive catalog of shows. And since the holidays are coming up, I figured it would be a great opportunity to talk about these episodes and even introduce some of you guys to these holiday-esque specials for the first time, in case you're looking for a new festive classic to add to your yearly holiday binge playlist. With that out of the way though, let's drop a like on the video. If you do, then thank you. And let's get started with the first of 5 festive specials. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Cybernetic Ghost of Christmas Past from the Future. So in part 1, I talked about the Aqua Teen holiday episode Mail Order Bride, while also briefly mentioning that there are like 3 other Christmas related episodes of the series, and today we're talking about another one. Following the release of the Season 1 episode Mail Order Bride, the creators gifted us with the Season 1 finale named Cybernetic Ghost of Christmas Past from the Future, which isn't 100% exactly a Christmassy episode, but it's close enough. This episode aired on December 29th, 2002, was written by Matt Malero, and featured a guest appearance by none other than Glenn Danzig, famous musician and founder of the Misfits and Danzig. The cold opening of the episode begins with a giant hand from the sky tearing apart the castle while Dr. Weird and Steve escape. Following that, the real episode begins with Carl being awoken by a robot claiming to be the ghost of Christmas past. The robot insists on showing Carl what his past Christmas was like in 1968. The flashback reveals young Carl receiving a piece of carpet from his father as a gift. You know, carpet, the gift that keeps on giving. The atmosphere of Carl's home is pretty bleak, with a mediocre Christmas tree adorned with empty bottles of beer, as young Carl tries to make the best of his gift, even pretending that it's a magical flying carpet. His father claims that it's going to be magical flying dinner. I'm sorry, that line always gets me. His father claims that it's going to be magic flying dinner. Suddenly, chaos erupts as an enormous robot intervenes, along with some lasers and stuff. Kind of looks like a laser light show. It's pretty cool. Carl, not fazed in the slightest, recalls eating carpet, but not the futuristic chaos involving robots and lasers. Carl points out that it's not even Christmas, but February, confusing the ghost, who departs, promising to return later. Later on, Shake shows up to inform Carl that his pool is filled with blood, which is pretty metal if you ask me. Frylock believes it to be elven blood, and the cybernetic ghost shows up to explain that he's the one who filled the pool with blood. And then he begins a very long, drawn-out, confusing story about Carl's house being built on top of elf graves, and because of that, it's haunted. The ghost suggests that the only way for the madness to end is for Carl to give himself to the Great Red Ape in a kinky way. This ape goes by Sir Santa of Claus, and he's also from Mars apparently. However, Carl strongly refuses to be violated by a giant ape in space and instead sells his house to Glenn Danzig. Glenn then creates a mess by activating sprinklers that spray blood everywhere. That's how you raise your property value. Frustrations rise when Glenn visits the Aqua Teen's house seeking the ghost, who ran off, and threatening Shake. After Glenn leaves, the ghost, hiding in their house, admits fear of Danzig and his unsettling nature. That's basically the episode in a nutshell. As I mentioned, Cybernetic Ghost might not scream Christmas or even cheer or happiness, but it's an outstanding episode. Throughout the first 2 seasons of Aqua Teen, the jokes almost always land, and this episode is no exception. The humor is spot on, and the plot is over the top and insane, which is what I expect out of Aqua Teen. And having Danzig as a guest was such an unexpected but pleasant addition. This episode also marks the Cybernetic Ghost's debut in the Aqua Teen universe, and thankfully it's not their last, because this is one of my favorite villains in television. It sure as hell isn't touching the Lich or even the Monarch's status, but the Cybernetic Ghost is definitely up there for me. I don't know, I personally really enjoyed this episode, and yes, I also enjoyed the confusing nature of the Cybernetic Ghost and his ridiculous bullshit stories, which is one of the reasons why I return to Colon movie film all the time, is because there's like several different Cybernetic Ghost stories, and they're all just super hilarious and ridiculous. Anyways, definitely give this episode a watch on Christmas Eve, especially if you're someone who likes to hear totally real stories from a robot that totally knows everything. Robot Chicken Christmas Special, the Xmus United. So I just recently uploaded a video ranking every single Robot Chicken Christmas special, which you should totally check out afterwards. And in that video, I mentioned this special. So I won't spend too much time on this entry, but for those of you who don't already know, Robot Chicken released like 10 Christmas specials throughout its run, and one of those episodes, released on December 13th, 2015, is called the Xmus United. Now, this Robot Chicken episode is pretty different from the rest of the series as it follows a totally different format. Instead of this special being a compilation of holiday-themed sketches, like previous installments, the crew decided to create an episode that focuses on the nerd, as he discovers the nature of his real father, and decides to travel to the North Pole via a train in order to find him. Although it appears that Santa Claus might be the nerd's father, the episode takes a pretty insane and also nuclear turn. And there's a lot of bloodshed, I mean just a lot. What I particularly love about this special, besides the insanity of the plot and the jokes, is that it's the second Robot Chicken episode to completely scrap the sketch compilation format to focus on one single story. To no surprise, the episode is fantastic and the team did such an incredible job. Although Seth MacFarlane, known for voicing Santa Claus on a lot of the Robot Chicken Christmas specials, wasn't available to record lines for this episode, Seth Green did a great job voicing the character, and I think the team made a very wild yet somewhat wholesome story. I personally prefer the traditional clip show sketch format, but Xmus United is probably the best Robot Chicken episode to focus on one single story, and I definitely believe that everyone who hasn't seen this episode yet should definitely give it a try. And if you're someone who has already seen this special before, give it another few watches before Christmas. It's a timeless classic. Your pretty face is going to hell. Krampus Knocked. We often dive deep into Adult Swim's animated shows, but besides Yule Log, Saul of the Mole Men, Joe Pera, and perhaps a couple of other mentions, we haven't given too much attention to their live-action shows here on the channel. Adult Swim has quite a collection of live-action content, including shows like Delocated, Loiter Squad, Black Jesus, and of course works by Tim and Eric. But one standout from the arsenal is Casper Kelly and Dave Willis's hell-centered sitcom, Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. The series follows Gary, a well-intentioned yet lazy, comical, and uneducated associate demon trying to advance up hell's corporate ladder. The show had a really great run with 4 seasons airing from 2013 to 2019, which is a substantial stretch for an Adult Swim sitcom. And within those 6 or 7 years on air, specifically on October 5th, 2015, the crew released a holiday-esque episode titled Krampus Knocked, which was directed by Casper Kelly and was also written by Kelly along with Dave Willis and Jim Fortier. Now, before we begin, you might be curious about how a sitcom set in hell would handle something like celebrating a holiday that's tied to Jesus' alleged birthday. You would think that Satan, Gary's boss and ruler of the underworld, would be pretty cheesed off that his employees are getting into the festive spirit, right? Well, because Christmas is highly commercialized, and this is a quote that is said by Satan in the show, Satan doesn't really care who in the corporate office space celebrates, which is great for Gary because he's the only guy with enough balls to put up some lights in his office. Anyways, the episode begins with Satan recalling his old companion Krampus. Now, Krampus, for those of you who don't know, is a horned anthropomorphic figure from old European folklore who is said to have accompanied St. Nicholas on Christmas. While Santa rewarded the good children of the world, Krampus would punish the misbehaved ones using birch rods, which are just bundles of twigs connected to form an instrument for corporal punishment. Well, as it turns out, Satan was also great friends with Krampus until he retired. Wanting to reignite the flame, Satan sends Gary and Claude to recruit Krampus, urging him out of retirement. However, as Krampus returns to his old ways, Gary and Claude find his methods too extreme for handling children. Realizing the imminent danger to Gary's stepnephew, the duo intervenes to stop Krampus. They save Gary's stepnephew as Krampus struggles with a mall security guard. Eventually, Krampus is arrested for attacking security with a novelty axe. Satan, regretting his decision, demands the entire operation be shut down. Claude and Gary pick up Krampus from the police station and divert him away in a van. In the touching conclusion, Gary's stepnephew receives his desired Christmas gift, secretly arranged by Gary as a way for his nephew to keep their entire encounter a mystery.
Now, I might not understand what a pocket marauder is, but that boy has the heart of a Texan.
Much like that pocket marauder, which is not a pocket marauder. I mean, how the hell could you even fit that in your pocket? This episode is awesome. Dave Willis did such an incredible job portraying a creepy, helpless, elderly Krampus. I mean, look at the guy. His face kind of reminds me of Victoria Justice's face in that one Victorious episode, where her character Tori is stuck wearing this like zombie-esque face. Despite its short run of only 11 minutes, the series is remarkably well crafted. The pacing is seamless and the humor hits the mark with hilarious jokes throughout. While I understand that your pretty face might not suit everyone's taste, especially those of a strong religious background, if you enjoy a wild yet coherent plot alongside outrageous humor, this series is a perfect fit for you. In fact, I want all of you right now to give Krampus Knocked a watch after this video. Snuggle up by the fireplace with your dog or your cat or your hamster or your fish or your ant colony and check it out. Stroker and Hoop. I Saw Stroker Killing Santa, aka A Cold Dead White Christmas. Stroker and Hoop, created by Casper Kelly and Jeffrey G. Olson, is a rare find, much like a hidden treasure. It was a genuinely enjoyable show that unfortunately didn't get the recognition it deserved and faded into obscurity. With just one season lasting from 2004 to 2005, the series centers around the private investigators John Stroker Strockmeyer, Hoop Schwartz, and Stroker's sentient car, whose attempts to assist people often go hilariously awry. Despite its short run, the show still holds a decent property in my heart. Honestly, I completely forgot about this episode until my good friend Mello Joseph recently unlocked a memory of Stroker and Hoop in my brain. And as it turns out, the series does have a Christmas episode. So the episode is titled I Saw Stroker Killing Santa, aka A Cold Dead White Christmas, and it premiered on December 4th, 2005. The episode kicks off with Stroker taking his son Keith to the mall to visit Santa Claus, but things take a nasty turn when someone shoots Stroker and injects Santa with a mysterious fatal substance. Stroker tries to go after the attacker, but gets into a scuffle with a mall cop. He does, however, manage to snag a lottery ticket from the attacker. Stroker then takes Santa to the Valley Vista County morgue, where coroner Rick delivers the grim news that Santa cannot be saved. It appears that Santa's life is in jeopardy, so Keith suggests that the only way to assist Santa and rescue Christmas is by identifying the person who poisoned him and obtaining the potential antidote if there is one. But before they leave, Stroker discovers that the unknown criminal dropped a winning lottery ticket. Stroker's luck shines and he hits the jackpot. He then sends Keith to stay with his mom while he and Hoop decide to have some fun at a ski resort. Car, however, envies Hoop's ride and pleads with Stroker to take him along. Unfortunately, Stroker's car lacks four-wheel drive and has worn brake pads, making it completely unsafe for snowy conditions. Meanwhile, Santa decides to visit Stroker's house but finds a note explaining that something urgent came up and Stroker couldn't assist. Car notices Santa's predicament and offers to help and drives them both to the ski resort, hoping to find Stroker and persuade him to aid in the search for the antidote. And at this point, it's revealed that the mall Santa is in fact the real Santa Claus, and the fate of Christmas does depend on Stroker's willingness to help. Hoop becomes upset with Stroker after hearing the news from Car over the phone and leaves. Stroker then experiences a visit from the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. The past ghost, who happens to be his former partner Jermaine Washington, takes him back to the moment of Jermaine's death, revealing that Stroker's actions were the cause. The present ghost then shows up and brings Stroker to see Car and Santa, but their presence inadvertently leads to a crash, leaving Santa in a precarious situation. By the way, while past, present, and future run into each other, they exchange envelopes. Keep that in mind for later. Future then transports Stroker to his future home, where he, Hoop, and Keith reside. It turns out Stroker spent all of his lottery money on a lawsuit with the world's children for letting Santa die. His house becomes a target for people who throw objects at it every Christmas. In an unexpected turn, the future version of Stroker emerges from the house and attempts to harm the future ghost and present Stroker, but Stroker accidentally eliminates his future self first. In an unexpected turn of events, Santa's reindeer encounter Car, and they all take flight to deliver presents across the world, aiming to rescue Christmas. However, their plan takes a very dark turn when a family stumbles upon Santa's lifeless body in the backseat, mistaking it for a bag of presents. Car then arrives at Stroker's resort along with Future, urging Stroker to join them in delivering presents to save Christmas. Stroker, at this point being very irritated with everything that's happening, takes Future at gunpoint and instructs Car to contact Rick and Hoop. Hoop, Future, Car, and Stroker and the reindeer make their way to Rick's location, bringing Santa's body with them. At Rick's, he extracts Santa's brain and liver matter and creates an antidote. Rick advises them to return in 15 years, as that's how long it'll take for Rick to develop the cure. Future then transports the group 15 years into the future to retrieve the antidote from Rick. After that, they travel back to the moment of Car and Santa's accident, saving Santa, and they all travel back to the resort in the present. Stroker then confronts Jermaine and unveils his scheme, which involves a time loop strategy of purchasing lottery tickets at different Christmases. Future passed the winning lottery numbers to Present, who shared them with the past, enabling them to purchase the tickets. It's revealed that there was money inside the envelope exchanged among the ghosts. Yeah, this entire episode is just a giant fucking clusterfuck. Santa then takes Stroker's gun and eliminates the ghost. He then continues on his way, and since the ghosts are no longer around, Stroker loses his lottery winnings. It takes him 3 years to bounce back, come to terms with the loss of his newfound wealth, and recognize that the outcome was a kind of happy ending. And to make amends for Stroker's lottery loss, Santa leaves him with a gift of socks. To be honest, Stroker and Hoop deserves an entire video breaking down the series and diving into its background. It's one of those old phenomenal shows that I don't really see anyone online talking about, as if people just completely forgot about its existence. I Saw Stroker Killing Santa was such a roller coaster of a Christmas episode, and I think what makes this episode a great Christmas classic, at least in my opinion, is the way it incorporates dark and satirical humor with the spirit of the holidays. The storytelling was pretty great, the voice acting was awesome, the abundance of twists and turns constantly left me on the edge of my seat, and for this being an animated series on Adult Swim in 2004, it looks great. So if you have 22 minutes, you're with your family, and they enjoy zany humor, and they don't mind watching Santa blow chunks out of his mouth, then this episode might be right for you. Superjail, Mr. Grumpy Pants. To wrap things up, no pun intended, we have the psychedelic bloodbath known as Superjail. How many of you guys out there remember Superjail or still actively revisit the series? Let me know in the comments below. If you are a proud member of the Superjail fan club, then you're probably already aware of the following episode, but for those of you who are unfamiliar with the series, here's a brief summary. Superjail, created by Christy Caracas, Stephen Warbrick, and Ben Gruber, takes place in a large prison located in a volcano that also happens to be located inside of a much bigger volcano on an island. The show follows the warden, Jared, the accountant, Alice the guard, and Jailbot, and a bunch of prisoners, and the episodes usually end in a giant messy bloodbath. Normally, Superjail is over the top and outrageous. However, the following episode that we're going to talk about is probably one of the saddest in the series. On November 9th, 2008, the Superjail episode titled Mr. Grumpy Pants premiered. In this episode, Jackknife commits a crime by stealing prescription drugs from a children's cancer ward on Christmas. A girl, later known as Sanser, sneaks into his sack and ends up in Superjail. The warden, whose birthday was on this day, encounters the girl and, in a disturbing turn, orders Jailbot to burn her. However, Ash, one of the prisoners, intervenes and saves her. Ash notices a bracelet on the girl, and it reads Cancer with a date listed, but he pronounces it as Sanser and assumes that's her name. And Ash assumes that the date written on her bracelet, which is the current day of the episode, is her birthday. Ash, the prisoners, and even Alice decide to throw the girl a birthday party. Later, the warden's inner child demon emerges. Yeah, that freaky thing came out of his body. And this little freaky thing repeatedly tries to harm Sanser, but fails. Meanwhile, Jared obtains Chinese ancient mystery butter, which was supposed to make the warden feel better since he's a bit depressed on his special day. However, Janice accidentally puts the mystery butter into Sanser's cake, formerly the warden's. The butter, when ingested, inadvertently turns everyone into babies due to its anti-aging properties. And like all Superjail episodes, chaos eventually ensues, leading to conflict and violence among the transformed baby inmates. The situation escalates when the warden's inner demon attacks Sanser with forks, causing the death of another inmate who tries to shield her. Eventually, the birthday present mountain falls on Sanser, resulting in her demise or her succumbing to her disease. Amidst the chaos, Ash is horrified by Sanser's death and tries to help her, but to no avail. Eventually, everyone returns to their adult forms and mourns the loss of Sanser. At the end of the episode, there's a card that pays tribute to the fallen girl. This is probably one of the saddest episodes of a TV series in history. Honestly, I don't 100% recommend this episode to everyone. I only really added Mr. Grumpy Pants to the list because it does include some Christmas elements, but mainly because I really just wanted an excuse to talk about the show, even if it's just for a few seconds. Superjail is such a graphic, psychedelic black comedy rollercoaster of violence that, in rare circumstances, has somehow managed to make me feel feelings, which is weird because I never feel anything. Mr. Grumpy Pants may not depict a traditional holiday celebration, and it certainly carries a morbid tone to it. However, there's a weird glimmer of positivity and kindness amidst the darkness. The idea of prisoners and of course Alice coming together to make a little girl's final day the best it could be amidst their challenging circumstances, even though none of these people understand that this girl has cancer, highlights the unexpected humanity in an otherwise grim environment. And maybe that's where the Christmas meaning truly comes into play. The holidays are about coming together with family and friends, putting differences aside, and helping each other out. And despite most of these people being awful criminals, they came together and made a little girl's final day on Earth the best it could be. I also just realized that Ash's name is a play on the word ashes. He's a pyromaniac who could also control fire for some reason. And what do you get when you burn logs? You get ashes. That's kind of funny. Anyways, as I stated, I don't 100% recommend everyone add this to their Christmas binge playlist. I think if you're someone who just enjoys Superjail, insane violent fight scenes, and can look at Mr. Grumpy Pants in a more positive light, then you should totally add this to your playlist. However, if you're someone who can't stomach sad endings or violence, then maybe stick to the other 4 on this list. Not that some of these other shows are any better when it comes to violence, but I don't know, I think you guys understand. I honestly hate to end off this video on such a sad note, so how about I give you guys a little Christmas gift? For those of you who stuck around until the end of the video, thank you. As a token of my gratitude, I want to let you guys in on a little secret. About a year and a half ago, I released the Adult Swim Iceberg, and somehow that became one of my most popular videos. In fact, it was my most popular video for the longest time, until this one took over, which, by the way, I'm also going to redo this one in the future. Despite the video covering a lot of Adult Swim lore in almost 2 hours, I didn't really cover a ton of trivia from the network, so I'm working on a sequel. This is without a doubt the longest video I've ever worked on. It's even longer than my Venture Bros iceberg. This iceberg takes the chart I've crafted from the first video and completely expands it to hell and back. I don't have a release date yet for this video, as I'm still actively working on it in the background. However, as soon as the video is complete, I will announce the premiere date. I hope you guys are excited for it. And hey, if you made it this far into the video and you have some ideas for Adult Swim iceberg entries that I did not cover in my original video, share them in the comments below. Well, there you have it, everyone. 5 Adult Swim Christmas specials, guaranteed to make you feel some type of way this holiday season. If you guys enjoyed parts 1 and 2 and would like me to cover some more Adult Swim Christmas specials in the future, leave a like on the videos and let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new around here. Click the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a brand new video. Follow me on all of my social links and join my Discord server. All links in the bio below. Have a fantastic day, everyone. And remember that Santa's on a diet, so skip the cookies and milk.